Yeah. Good morning, students. In this class, we discussed the last class we have discussed about X-rays and X-ray spectra. In this class, we discuss about Compton effect. So, what is meant by Compton effect is when a monochromatic X-ray is made to scattered from an electron or made to incident on a material, the scattered X-rays consists of two wavelengths. Okay, when an X-ray, monochromatic X-ray is scattered by electron, then it is observed through the scattered X-ray. There are two components of wavelengths. That is, one component one component is exactly same that of the incident photon, that is incident X-ray, and the other one appears to be changed. Okay, this phenomena is called Compton effect. That means when monochromatic X-ray is scattered by an electron, the scattered ray or the scattered photon wavelength is changed or modified, and this phenomena is called Compton effect. That means, as you see, suppose an X-ray is incident on a stationary electron like this. Suppose it is scattered like this. So this is incident photon, incident X-ray photon. So when this incident X-ray photon is scattered by an electron, suppose, then this scattered photon wavelength increased. That means, and the electron recoiled. Okay. So when an incident photon is scattered by a stationary electron like this scattered ray or the scattered photon wavelength appears to be increased. Okay, and this phenomena was explained on the basis of quantum theory or Max Planck's quantum idea of light. That means when an incident photon of h nu, incident photon of energy h nu is incident or collides with this electron, what happens is this electron absorbs some amount of energy from this photon, so that this incident photon energy decreased and changes to h nu dash. Assume that when the energy of the incident photon is h nu, when it is scattered by this electron absorbs some amount of energy from this incident photon, so that the energy of this photon decreases and its frequency decreases to nu dash. So if you assume that the photon has energy h nu dash, that means decrease in frequency means increase in wavelength. So the wavelength of this scattered photon increases. Okay, because nu dash is equal to c by lambda dash. As this frequency is decreased to nu dash, wavelength increases to lambda dash. Okay. Now, actually, this phenomena was observed by Compton, so it is Compton effect. But actually, this phenomena was wave theory fails to explain this phenomena. Whereas, considering the light as a photon, this is explained, and the experimental results were in good agreement with the theoretical values. Okay, and by applying law of conservation of momentum and energy, this Compton derived that the change in frequency lambda dash, that means the new frequency lambda dash is equal to lambda plus h by m naught c into 1 minus cos phi, where this phi is the angle of scattering. If the incident photon is scattered through an angle phi, then the change in frequency or new frequency is given by lambda dash is equal to lambda plus h by m naught c into 1 minus cos alpha. We are not going to derive a total equation, so just you remember, because problems are asked on this formula only in competitive exams. So lambda dash minus lambda is equal to h by m naught c into 1 minus cos phi. So this change in frequency, that means initially its wavelength is lambda, so increase it to lambda dash. That means this increase in wavelength or shift in wavelength, and this is denoted as lambda dash, called Compton shift. It's called Compton shift. Okay, this Compton shift is equal to delta lambda, that equal to h by m naught c into 1 minus cos phi, where this phi is the angle of scattering, and this m naught is equal to rest mass of electron, because we have considered that electron is stationary. So rest mass of electron, that is 9.1 10 power minus 31, and c is velocity of light. Okay, so the Compton shift lambda, delta lambda is equal to h by m naught c into 1 minus cos phi. Now if this shift value depends on, this Compton shift depends on this angle of scattering, because delta lambda is equal to h by m naught c into 1 minus cos phi. So here the shift is independent on the material of scattering. So the shift is independent on the nature of the material through which the X-ray is scattered. Okay. Next one is independent on wavelength of this. So the shift depends only on angle of scattering. That means, because h is a constant, Planck's constant, velocity of light is constant, rest mass of electron is constant, though the shift depends only on this angle of scattering. Okay. Now if angle of scattering is 0 degree, if phi is 0 degree, then delta lambda is equal to, we can substitute like this, so h by m naught c into 1 minus cos 0 is g1, so that's equal to 0. That means there is no shift observed if the incident direction, that means it is the same direction, there is no shift. But if it is scattered through an angle phi, then only we can observe the shift. That is, in the same incident direction, there is no shift in the wavelength, but through an angle theta, scattered by an angle theta, then only we will observe the shift or change in wavelength. Suppose if phi is 90 degree, that means in this direction like this. So delta lambda is equal to h by m naught c into 1 minus 0, that is h by m naught c. If the angle of scattering is 180, in that case delta is equal to h by m naught c into 1 minus minus 1, that is 2h by m naught c. Okay, this is briefly about Compton effect. That means when monochromatic X-ray is scattered by an electron, then the scattered photon or the scattered rays consists of two components. One is whose wavelength is not changed, another component whose wavelength is increased. Okay, or we can say we get two wavelengths, one is modified wavelength and another is unmodified wavelength. That means unmodified wavelength means there is no change at wavelength. In the modified wavelength there is an increase in the wavelength, and that change in wavelength is given by this equation delta lambda is equal to h by m naught c into 1 minus cos phi. And if the shift or change in the wavelengths only depends only on the angle of scattering, and if the angle of scatterings are these three cases, we observe these values. Okay. Now, if theta is the direction of recoil electron, so suppose electron, due to this collision, electron moves in this direction with an angle theta like this. In that case, the angle of recoil of the electron or the direction of electron tan theta is equal to lambda sin phi minus lambda dash minus lambda cos phi. That means the direction through which this electron is recoiled is given by tan theta is equal to lambda sin phi by lambda minus lambda cos phi. So you remember this equation also. Okay, these are the relations that you have to remember in a Compton effect. So Compton effect means when in a monochromatic X-ray is scattered by an electron, the scattered X-ray wavelength is increased. Okay, and that increase is given by delta lambda is equal to h by m naught c into 1 minus cos phi, and this cos phi is the angle of scattering, and the direction through which this velocity, the electron is recoiled, is given by tan theta is equal to lambda sin phi by lambda dash minus lambda sin phi cos phi. Okay. Now another small topic that is in your NEETA JEE exam syllabus is brief discussion about electron microscope. So as you know, microscope is the device used to observe the small things, small objects. So here we can discuss electron microscope. So electron microscope means it is exactly similar to that of ordinary microscope, but in ordinary microscope we employ ordinary light, that means usually visible light. So but in this case, in this electron microscope, we use electron beam. Okay, because by de Broglie hypothesis, electron is considered to be a wave, so the wave associated with electron, we use that particular wave. Whereas in ordinary microscope we use light. Okay. Now why this electron microscope is important is because ordinary light, that means that we use ordinary light for a microscope. Usually the visible light is from 4000 Armstrong, that means 4 into 10 power minus 7 to 7 into 10 to the power minus 7 meter. This is the range of visible wavelength. So if you take the average, assume that this is 5 into 10 to the power minus 7 meter. This is the wavelength of and usually ordinary light. But if we consider an electron wavelength, a wavelength associated with an electron is given by 12.26 by square root of V Armstrong. So if we use this voltage as very high voltage of about 60,000 volt, that means electron beam is accelerated by this high voltage. Then if you substitute V here, we get lambda as 5 into 10 to the power minus 12. Actually 5 into 10 to the power Armstrong. this value is calculated to be this, that is 5 into 10 to the power minus 2 and minus 10, so minus 12 meter. So this is 5 into 10 to the power minus 12 meter. If we assume that it is accelerated through a potential of about 60,000 volt, then we get the wavelength of the electron is about 5 into 10 to the power minus 12 meter. So if we compare like this, this is for visible light, this is the wavelength of electron. So as we know, the resolving power, that means ability to give separate images, is called resolution. So the resolving power of a microscope we have derived is, actually the least distance between them is 1.22 lambda by 2n sin alpha, where this sin alpha is numerical aperture, n is the refractive index of the medium, and lambda is the wavelength. And this is the limit of resolution for a microscope. So resolving power of the microscope is reciprocal of this, that is 2n sin alpha by 1.22 lambda. That means to increase the resolving power, we have to decrease the wavelength. That means for smaller wavelengths we get higher resolution or high resolving power. So in this case also, if we consider a visible light and electron wave, visible light wave and electron wave, that means this is 10 to the power 5 times shorter. That means this electron wavelength is 10 to the power 5 times shorter than electron wavelength is 10 to the power 5 times shorter than that of this visible light. That means by decreasing this wavelength, we increase the resolving power. That means the electron microscope gives high resolution. Okay, so that's why it is used in scanning or testings. Now, how this electron microscope works? So, okay. So ordinary light, and for ordinary light we have ordinary microscope, optical microscope. Using electron beam, this electron microscope works. Okay, where in our ordinary microscope we use lenses to converge light. In ordinary lens we use lenses to converge light. But in electron microscope, for converging the electron beam, here we have to converge the electron beam because electrons are moving like a light ray. So to converge these electrons we use magnetic lenses. Called magnetic lenses, or by magnetic focusing. Okay, by using magnetic fields called magnetic lenses, we converge the electron beams just like the lenses converge the ordinary light in ordinary microscope. Okay, so the basic structure of an electron microscope is, so first electrons are emitted from a gun which are accelerated by an anode. Now these electrons enters through a magnetic field. This is called magnetic lens. So the space between the magnetic field focuses or converges the light beam. So these are focused on object, and again another lens, so that it gives magnified image, and another magnetic field, so that it gives another magnified image. In this way, this particular magnetic lens is called objective lens, wherein our ordinary microscope we have a magnetic field like this and another lens. Okay, we take an object here, we will get an image of this, and this is magnified as this. We call it as objective eyepiece. You go through this. ordinary microscope. Here also, instead of lenses, we use magnetic fields to converge the electron beam. So those fields are called magnetic lenses, and their process is called magnetic focusing. Okay. So you just remember this. It's not in your syllabus actually, but if any question is asked regarding this, you have to remember that. Why it is used means due to its lowest, shorter wavelengths, its resolving power increases and its magnification also increases. Okay. And now we solve some problems based on X-rays. So already you know the formula. So X-rays, you have a relation that EV is equal to, that means half mv square. So the kinetic energy of the electrons is converted into an X-ray heat, so that half mv square is equal to h nu, that is EV is equal to hc by lambda. So regarding wavelength, so minimum, and this is maximum. So you have this relation. And also this is in case of continuous X-ray spectrum. In case of characteristic X-ray spectrum, we have hc by lambda is equal to change in the energy levels E2 minus E1, or delta E. We can have this equation. So lambda is equal to hc by delta E. This is the another relation. So you have to remember these two relations. For continuous X-ray spectrum, you have to consider this relation, and for characteristics, this also we can write lambda is equal to hc by EV, where this capital V is operating voltage, you have to remember, and hc is already you know Planck's constant, velocity of light. In this case, this delta is change in the energy levels, that means K2L or L level to K shell or M shell to K shell. It depends on these values E1 and E2. And another one is, you have to remember, is Moseley's law, that is root of nu is equal to A into Z minus B. This is Moseley's law. So usually problems in X-rays are asked in based on these three relations only. Okay, now we solve some relation like this. Write down the problem. First one, how much should be the voltage of X-ray tube so that the electrons emitted from the cathode given X-ray of wavelength 1 Armstrong So how much is the voltage to be applied across the X-ray tube so that an electrons are emitted from the cathode give an X-ray of wavelength 1. So we have to use the same relation. So lambda is equal to hc by EV. So V is the operating voltage and lambda is the wavelength. Given in this equation, in this problem, this lambda is the wavelength given. You have to calculate the applied voltage. So from this we can write V is equal to hc by E into lambda. That is H value is 6.625 10 power minus 34 into 3 into 10 power 8. by electron charge is 1 into 10 to 1.6 into 10 to the power minus 19 into wavelength is 1 Armstrong. So all the you have to remember H equal to 6.625 10 power minus 34 joule second, and C is velocity of light 3 into 10 to the power 8 meter per second, and lambda is given as 1 Armstrong, that is 1 into 10 power minus 10 meter. So by substituting all these, E is charge of electron. So substituting this, we will calculate 6.625 into 3 by 1.6 into, here it is 10 to the power minus 29, 10 to the power minus 29 and 10 to the power minus 34, 10 to the power minus 5. Into 3 by 1.6 into 10 to the power minus 5. Sorry, this is 29. Here 10 to the power minus 5, here plus 8. 29 minus 5 plus 8 plus 3. So this is approximately 1.5. This is approximately 3. If it is 1.5, it is, then it is 2 in 1. That is approximately 13 point something into 10 to the power 3. Or approximately 12 point something 10 to the power 3 volt. X-rays of minimum wavelength minimum wavelength 1 Armstrong are produced with a potential difference of 10 kilovolt if the PD, that means the potential difference, is changed to 100 kilovolt, then the minimum wavelength would be now the lambda minimum, we have this relation Hc by lambda. That means lambda minimum is inversely proportional to the applied voltage or operating voltage. So from this we can write lambda 1 by lambda 2 is equal to V2 by V1. So here the lambda 1 is Armstrong 1 and V1 is 10 kilovolt and V2 is 100 kilovolt. So simply we can calculate lambda 1 means 1 by lambda 2 is equal to 100 by 10 kilovolt, and this is also in kilovolt, so you can cancel out. So lambda 2 is equal to 1 by 10, that is 0.1 Armstrong. Okay, next one, third one. Find the atomic number of the element which give K alpha X-ray spectra of wavelength wavelength 1.785 Armstrong for K alpha A is equal to 3/4 CR and B equal to 1, where R is Rydberg constant and equal to 1.097 10 power 7. So according to Moseley's law, we have nu is equal to A into Z minus B whole square but nu is equal to C by lambda, that equal to A into Z minus B whole square, and given these values, so we can substitute C by lambda is equal to, where A value is given as 3/4 into CR into Z minus 1 whole square. So we get cancel. So we have to calculate Z minus 1. So Z minus 1 whole square is equal to 4/3 to 1 by lambda into 1 by R. So substituting, we get 4 by 3, 1 by this one, 1.785, 10 power minus 10 into 1 by 1.097 into 10 to the power 7. So calculating using a calculator, we get z minus 1 whole square is equal to 7 into 10 square. So z minus 1 equal to root 7 into 10. So z is equal to z minus 1 equal to approximately it is 2.7 into 10, that is z equal to 27 plus 1. Actually it is not exactly 2.67 like that. So 26 plus 1, approximately 27. So the atomic number of the element is approximately 27 or nearer to 27.